press conference. The theme of this conference, the theme of what the issue we want to address is how the capital market can serve as a catalyst for equitable and inclusive growth in Nigeria. So on behalf of the Capital Market Developers of Nigeria, I want to welcome you to this World Press Conference. We sincerely appreciate your presence and your continued commitment to informing Nigerians on issues that shape our economy and national development. Today's engagement is particularly significant because it comes at a time when Nigeria's economy presents what many analysts describe as a paradox. It's something we're all familiar with. And that's because, on the one hand, macroeconomic indicators have shown a remarkable improvement following far-reaching economic reforms by the present administration. On the other hand, many households and businesses continue to grapple with a high cost of living, limited access to affordable finance, and declining purchasing power. It is this apparent disconnect between improving macroeconomic statistics and the living and the life realities of Nigerians that has informed the theme of today's press conference. The Nigerian capital market is a national equitable, inclusive growth, bridging the gap between macroeconomic stability and household prosperity. Bridging the gap, not to this, between macroeconomic stability and household prosperity. First, I want to introduce CMAN. So, who are we? Before addressing the theme of this press conference, I need to briefly introduce the National Academy of Nigeria. CMAN. CMAN is a registered body established to advance the frontiers of financial markets through research, knowledge sharing, evidence-based policy advocacy, and stronger collaboration between academia and industry. CMAN is Nigeria's foremost financial markets think tank, bringing together researchers, lecturers, economics, and professionals from universities, research institutes, regulatory agencies, and private sector organizations with a common passion for developing Nigeria's financial sector. Since becoming fully operational in 2021, we have continued to make meaningful contributions through our Medic National Conference, which held in 2024, webinars, public lectures, policy dialogues, and stakeholder engagements. We remain committed to providing objective and research-based recommendations capable of strengthening Nigeria's financial architecture and supporting sustainable economic development. Nigeria's macroeconomic journey. CMAN believes it's important to objectively assess the Nigerian economy. While acknowledging the challenges confronting households and businesses, we must equally recognize that difficult reforms were inevitable if Nigeria was to restore our economic stability. We therefore commend the federal government under the leadership of President Prof for undertaking reforms that successive administrations have largely postponed. The removal of fuel subsidy, painful as it has been, addressed a policy that had become fiscally unsustainable, encouraged efficiency, and diverted scarce public resources away from productive investments. Similarly, the unification of foreign exchange markets corrected long-standing discussions associated with multiple exchange rates, improved transparency, and enhanced investors' confidence. Although the adjustments initially imposed significant costs on businesses and consumers, it is our considered view that a market-reflective exchange rate remains more sustainable than maintaining an artificial exchange rate through continuous interventions. We also commend the ongoing fiscal and tax reforms aimed at broadening the tax base, simplifying tax administration, and creating a more efficient, equitable, and growth-oriented fiscal framework capable of supporting long-term economic development. In particular, CMAN commends the Honorable Minister of Finance and Government Minister for Economy, Professor Uwaleke, for his exemplary leadership as Chairman of the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms, as well as the dedicated members of that committee whose painstaking work culminated in the enactment of the Nigerian Tax Act 2025 to restore confidence in Nigeria's financial system. Particularly noteworthy is the successful clearance of over $7 billion in foreign exchange obligations inherited from the previous years. This singular action significantly improved Nigeria's credibility in the international financial community. We also commend the discontinuation of ways and means financing of the federal government. This represents an important step towards restoring fiscal discipline and strengthening monetary policy credibility. Furthermore, the successful implementation of the banking sector revitalization is positioning Nigerian banks to finance other projects, support economic transformation, and compete effectively on the African continent. The reforms introduced in the foreign exchange market have substantially improved liquidity, attracted foreign capital inflows, and contributed to the continued accretion of Nigeria's external reserves. Collectively, these measures have helped to restore investor confidence and improve Nigeria's standing among international investors. It is therefore not surprising that major global rating agencies have responded positively by improving Nigeria's foreign outlook, while the country's international profile has continued to rise. I now come to what I call positive outcomes and emerging concerns. These macroeconomic improvements have also been reflected in the Nigerian capital markets. Investor confidence has strengthened considerably, foreign portfolio participation has increased, and market performance has remained impressive. As of June 26, 2026, the equities market capitalization exceeded 150 trillion, while the year-to-date return approached 50%. Following the capitalization, credit to the private sector as a percentage of GDP continues to decline. This trend deserves urgent policy attention because sustainable economic growth ultimately depends on productive private sector investments rather than financial sector expansion alone. I now come to increase, ladies and gentlemen. While we acknowledge the program management, we must deliberately focus on translating these gains into tangible improvements in the lives of Nigerians. Headline inflation, although moderating from previous peaks, I recall in November 2024, it's current 1.4%, today inflation rate is around 15.9. So although we are seeing moderation, it remains elevated. 15.9% is still high. More important, rural inflation continues to exert enormous pressure on millions of Nigerians, whose livelihoods global energy prices, with attendant implications of transportation, production costs, and domestic inflation. These are largely external and structural shocks, which monetary policy alone cannot fully address. For this reason, because we recognize that monetary policy alone cannot address them, there is a generous central bank. We commend the central bank for maintaining a data-driven and disciplined monetary policy stance. stewardship nature, monetary policy should gradually rely less on repeated increases in the monetary policy rate as the primary instrument for controlling inflation. CMAN recognizes the central bank's renewed emphasis on these four mandates of price stability. We support the strategic direction because a credible and independent central bank is fundamental to economic stability. Nevertheless, we believe that the pursuit of price stability and the promotion of economic growth need not be mutually exclusive. Accordingly, we call upon the central bank to create appropriate room for carefully designing development finance interventions through existing development finance institutions. Rather than directly administering intervention programs, the bank can continue to provide strategic support through specialized institutions and possess the expertise to finance agriculture, manufacturing, exports, housing, and small businesses. It requires deliberate investments that improve the productivity of businesses, expand employment opportunities, strengthen infrastructure, and enhance the welfare of Nigerians. This is precisely where a vibrant and well-developed the capital market has demonstrated remarkable resilience over the past 2 years. Beyond its impressive performance, however, the market must increasingly become a vehicle for inclusive wealth creation, enterprise development, and national economic transformation. CMAN believes that a vibrant capital market should not merely serve institutional investors and large corporations. It must become a platform through which ordinary Nigerians, small businesses, startups, state governments, and infrastructure developers can access long-term capital at competitive costs. And that's why I'm happy today that Dangote Refinery will soon be in the market. And other companies should also be encouraged to list on the exchange. But that's also one way of democratizing capital market participation. Companies undertaking initial public offerings should enjoy tax incentives during the early years following listing. CMAN further recommends that the company income tax applicable to listed companies be reduced from the current 30% to 25% as an incentive for greater public listing, improved corporate governance, and enhanced transparency. As you know, currently companies income tax for large companies is 30%. We are saying that for listed companies, because data shows that the bulk of the tax collected by the Federal Revenue Service comes from listed companies. So if we know that comes from listed companies, whose accounts are open, it makes sense to therefore encourage them by reducing their CIT from say 30 to 25. So if you're a company outside the market and you want to enjoy that independence and academic institutions in the formulation, implementation, and evaluation of capital market policies, research should not remain confined within university classrooms and academic journals. Rather, it should directly inform regulatory reforms, product innovation, investor education, and market development strategies. Hunter says, countries are big in KPIs, exactly what I mentioned. So if I have that data, and we are the president of the Minister of Trade and Investment, I will now say, how do we now go to this attract investment from these countries? So if I have a semester of these countries, I will pay more attention. I think that goes in more funding. So we'll be able to do shows to bring investors to Nigeria. A few years ago, I used to be invited by the Swiss ambassador. He used to say to us, we were very every December. So they invite me, first invite some other people, invite their friend, I'll go there. They call this business government meets. Business of the city ambassador. In that city ambassador,
Internet Exchange. It's a platform that will trade digitally on African natural resources like rare earth minerals, that's strategic minerals, like lithium, and the like, petroleum, energy, livestock, commodity futures, options, swaps, and of course energy. Once we are able to establish this platform, especially here in Abuja, for obvious reasons, we have the World Trade Center here, we'll have penetration into global financial markets, and then there will also be a dollar-denominated private issuing house that is regulated right here in Abuja, in London, and also the United States of America, so that we'll be able to have transcontinental reach and depth. This is going to energize the capacity for the entire African continent to have a transparent financial benchmarking that will allow us to satisfy our infrastructure development yearnings. Of course, this is also going to help us industrialize and to deepen Africa's economies. Because for Nigeria to deepen its economy, it has to have tentacles across Africa. I believe that being energy sufficient is another key area that will be allowing us in the very near future to make sure that our industrialization is quite readily achieved.
Mr. Chairman, sir, members of the High Table, CMAN Executive Committee members, good afternoon, dear respected press, media, board application, like Mr. Uwaleke just pointed out, it is something that is very, very important to the economy and development of the market in Nigeria. So please try to be there as early as 9 o'clock. Once again, we thank you for coming and we appreciate it.